Hey y'all, we are back and it is time for another episode of our Out of the Park Baseball 21 series here on my channel. It is Thursday, July 27th, 2023, Red Sox 45 and 58. We've done all right since the All-Star break. We've won some games, we lost a few here and there, but for the most part we've done okay. I decided to stop here because as you can see, we have a day off before we start this series against Seattle, and then we basically get up to the deadline. And I did make two trades, but before I go into those, I was reading your comments, and most of you really couldn't really think of any move that would help us contend this year, which is understandable. One of you said that I should maybe look at my pitching staff, and that's something that I was meaning to do for a while. If we go to my pitching staff, and here it is, and just kind of see how they're doing, maybe see what kind of tendencies they have, see if they're doing better at home, on the road, or vice versa, where they're doing worse. So I decided to take a look at that. It's something that I was kind of planning on doing for a while. I was just kind of hoping that it would work out. And I mean, I guess you could say for the most part that it has. I talked about it in the last episode. You can see that Mata has had a very bad year, and he's been bad both at home and on the road. So if you go to pitching stats and pitching splits, he's done equally as bad at Fenway and away from Fenway. And because he is a ground ball pitcher, what that would indicate to me is that our defense just has not been good enough when he's on the mound, and that's really negatively affecting how he performs. You can see he's a ground ball pitcher, so I think if we fix the defense, he will be fine, and one of my trades was made with that in mind. So that's with Mata. Baez is an extreme fly ball pitcher, so naturally you would think that at a park like Fenway, which is normally among the top 10 in park factors, it's normally a pretty hitter-friendly park. But if you go into pitching splits, he's actually done really well at home. He has a 3.47 ERA and even better FIP, a 2.48 FIP. He's done very bad on the road, which I was surprised about. He's let up a lot of home runs on the road. He has not let up many home runs. It's very rare for him, I guess, to let up a home run at home, which I was very surprised to see. I thought it would be the other way around, but it seems like his extreme fly ball tendencies haven't really been that bad at home. So I think that he's a guy that maybe I'll try to explore trading in the offseason. I did look at some trade packages a couple minutes ago, but I guess it was more than a couple minutes ago. But before I started recording, let's say that. And there just wasn't really anything that I thought made sense. So maybe we explore that in the offseason, because if we go back, you can see that he has 4 years of service time. So he's almost done arbitration. He has a couple more years, and then he'll be a free agent, and I guess 29 years old. So maybe that's something that we explore in the offseason. But you take a look at Jacob Nix. He's a neutral ground ball, fly ball tendency. If we go to the splits, he's been pretty even at home on the road. At home, he's actually done a little worse. And this is kind of what I thought Baez would have been like, what his splits would have been like. But Nix has actually been pretty bad at home, and he's been fine on the road. 323 FIP, a 410 FIP, so pretty even there. But at home, he just has not done very well. The home runs per 9 innings are a little higher. It seems like he's walking some more guys. He's allowing more hits at home. So once again, I think maybe the defense is part of that, but also maybe he just does not pitch well at Fenway, so that's something that maybe we'll have to consider. We did just give him that contract extension that has locked him in for another 4 to 5 years, so we probably should figure out pretty quickly if this is the kind of guy that we want to hitch our wagon to for a while, and that's another thing that we can explore. Slater O'Brien, I'm not really too concerned about. One of my top prospects. If we go to the splits, you can see that at home he's done very, very well. On the road, he's done pretty well too. You got to remember, as a rookie too, as a 25-year-old, he's made 7 starts, and for the most part, the FIP isn't great. But I think once again, you can see he's a fly ball pitcher. His velocity is not great, but I think once again, if we fix the defense, some of these problems will be solved. Not all the problems, but I think some of them will. And finally, we did call up Alek Manoah. We sent down Kay Cavalli because he got blasted again by the Athletics. We lost 18-8, and I figured that was probably the final straw. Clearly, he was not ready, so we sent him back down. We called up Alek Manoah. And that is the good thing. If we go to rosters and transactions, I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but we do have so much pitching depth that we can kind of call on this year. Hunter Brown, Bukauskas, Cavalli, Politi, Ramirez, Forrest Whitley, Thad Ward, even going further down. Paredes is a guy that we'll be able to call up in a little bit. So it's definitely different from years past. We actually have guys we can put in, and it's not going to be the worst thing in the world to have them in the starting rotation. So that's that. But as I said, we did make a couple of trades. You can see we are 45 and 58. If we go to the schedule, so I stopped here on the, where did I stop? July. So I guess we stopped, here on the 16th. So you can see that we took 2 of 3 from the Orioles and 2 out of 3 from the Athletics. So we've won 2 series coming out of the All-Star break, which is encouraging. But I decided to make a couple trades. They're, in the grand scheme of things, I think they're relatively small, not compared to what I've done in the past, especially at the last deadline. I've only made 2 trades, and that's all I'm going to make. But we'll go to the trade log. I'll walk you through them. So the first trade that we made was with Cleveland, and you can see that they are 1642. So what I basically did was I packaged a set of prospects in order to get some better prospects. So in this trade, we traded Brian Gonzalez, Devlin Granberg, and Christian Knapczyk, and Nick Gonzalez to Cleveland. And in return, we got Wilmer Flores, who will be our first baseman for the remainder of the season, Jacob Contreras, and Angel Martinez. So if you take a look here, let's scroll down. The big piece in this trade was definitely Nick Gonzalez, a former, basically a top 50 prospect. He just wasn't getting it done. OSA doesn't seem to like him as much as my head scout, and that kind of worries me a little bit, not because OSA is more accurate, but because Gonzalez in his time with us has not proven that he has a really good contact tool. You can see last year he only hit 222. He had a 692 OPS. This year he's only hit 249 and has had a 699 OPS. Last year he was a negative value player. This year he's been a little better. He has 0.5 WAR, but still, I don't know, maybe if my scout is kind of overselling what this guy can do too much, but you can see that he's expecting to be a bench player, and we had him as a starter for basically the entire season. He just never really could get it back together. He started off pretty well, and then he just fell off a cliff, and he never really was able to get back. So I decided to trade him while his value was still pretty high, and that way I could get something for him. So he was the big piece of the trade. And we also traded Brian Gonzalez, who he's having a good year in mid-A this year. He's 21 years old and 877 OPS. He has a 152 OPS plus, a 156 WRC plus. He's been basically a 4-win player. But once again, this is one of those situations where I'm kind of just trying to package prospects that I don't think figure into my long-term plans in exchange for guys that, probably have a better chance. And that was the deal with Gonzalez. Also, the thing, you got to give up something to get something. So it wasn't like I wanted to trade Gonzalez, but it just made sense. Granberg, a guy here who has done very well in AA, so I wanted to trade him while his value was high because you can take a look at his statistics. He's really never done this well at any level of the minors, not in a very long time. So we decided to trade him. He looks like he'll be pretty good defensively for a first baseman. You have to put that into context. So we traded him away. He's 27 years old, so the fact that he was only in AA kind of, to me, made him a little expendable. And the final piece was Christian Knapczyk, a guy that was tough for me to trade because he's a captain, and those are kind of hard to come by. But, he'll be good defensively, very good on the base paths, no power, but it seems like he might be pretty good with the bat, other than the power. You can see at high A this year as a 21-year-old, he's been basically a 3-win player. So that was the package that we traded to Cleveland, and in return we got Wilmer Flores, who will be our first baseman for the remainder of the year. One of you brought up that one of the guys on the trading block, Justin Turner, might have been an upgrade over Buddy Kennedy, and that got me to thinking that maybe Buddy Kennedy would be better off getting at bats at a lower level and trying to regain his confidence. So we did send down Buddy Kennedy, and we did get Wilmer Flores. That's how this package started, that I wanted Wilmer Flores, and I just wanted to see what else I could get if I put together a prospect package for them. So this is the guy that the trade started out with. You can see he's only on a 1-year contract, so we're not locked in. He's done pretty well this year, an 839 OPS. Granted, it's only been in limited time, and now he's going to be our full-time starter for the rest of the year, but it's only a couple months. He's been a positive value player, and I think that defensively he'll be helpful, and offensively he should be able to do a little better than Buddy did, which is, I guess, the main thing. Now, the main piece of this prospect package that we got in return was this third baseman, Jacob Contreras, who I think will be a first baseman for us whenever he gets up to the majors. He is the number 6 prospect in all of baseball. You can see that he was angry. So we're kind of taking a chance on this guy in the sense that by pure OPS wise, he's kind of underachieved. Now, if you look at some of the more underlying statistics, his OPS plus and his WRC plus have been above average. But for a number 6 overall prospect in all of baseball, I think you'd expect these to be like a little better. So we're kind of taking a chance that he will develop into the player that he should. You can see OSA likes him a lot more than my head scout does, but I think it's still kind of encouraging getting a guy like this. He's only 23 years old, and we've been all right offensively this year, but I think getting a guy like this should definitely help us if he does develop. He's 23 years old. We have him at AA right now. He's been a 2-win player this year at mid-A, so I'm kind of hoping that he does develop correctly, and hopefully in a couple years he will be a focal part of this lineup at first base, because you can see what he can do. He has a lot of power, but he also should be able to hit well. He should be able to have a good eye, and he should be able to avoid strikeouts. So a guy like that, combining him with Kirilloff, Seth Beer, Devers, and Mookie, if he's here for the next couple of years, that should be a pretty suitable or formidable top half of the starting lineup. So hopefully he develops. We also got Angel Martinez, a 21-year-old shortstop, who I would imagine could probably play second base if I really needed him to. You can see he's basically a top 50 prospect. He's number 55. He's been close to a 3-win player this year. He's been at AA, a 746 OPS. He's been a tuck above average offensively, but I really got him for his defense. You can see he should be elite defensively. He should be able to there we go, run the bases very well. Another guy that's probably not going to have a ton of pop in the bat, but I don't think he'll kill us offensively. He's not going to strike out a lot. He'll have about an average eye, which I think is fair. And he is 21 years old, so we should have him for a while. He already is on the 40-man. He does have a major league contract, but that is that. So we did make one more trade because we needed a second baseman since we traded Nick Gonzalez, and we did not have one in the minors that was ready to go. So if we go to the trade log, we just made a small trade with the Giants. We traded Cameron Cannon, our 25-year-old second base prospect, a guy that I didn't really figure would had a chance in our long-term plans. He's 25 years old, so we traded him, and in return we got Miguel Rojas, another guy who's very good defensively. He's not going to strike out a lot for us, so he'll be in the lineup for the remainder of the year. So that is that. If we go to lineups, you can see now it's not as good as it was at the start of the year. Granted, I think that once Seth Beer gets back, it'll be better, obviously, and we only have to wait another 1 to 2 weeks for that. I thought about trading for somebody that could fill in a DH, but it just didn't make sense. We're just going to ride with Akami, and then as soon as Beer's ready to go, we'll send Akami back down, bring Beer back up, and that'll be that. But you can see now we're running with Kirilloff, Betts, Devers, Caratini. Flores is batting 5th, which is not it's not what I thought would happen at the start of the year for sure. And then we have Akami. We called up this guy, Angel Maeda. You can see he's a top 60 prospect, and it seemed like it was probably about time for him to come up, and he's done well so far in his first 6 games at the major league level, a 908 OPS. You can see he's very, very, very good defensively. So he'll be up until Jordan Adams is ready to go, at which point we can kind of reevaluate. But that is that. So you can see Rojas and Iglesias will be at the bottom of our lineup. I have them mainly in there for defense, so I'm hoping with a really good defensive center fielder and 2 really good defensive guys up the middle and a pretty solid defensive catching platoon, that guys like Mata and Manoa and Nix, and I guess you could say really the entire rotation in the bullpen, perform a little better because now they'll have help behind them in the field. That's the goal anyway. As I said, this team is not going to make the playoffs this year. We are 15 games out of first, and we are 11 and a half out of a wild card spot. The owner goal, if you did not catch the last episode, if you go to owner, was achieve a winning record. Now, he is undecided, and the problem is that if we go to personnel, we do only have a 2-year contract, so we have this year and then we have next year, so we really need to start putting together some wins to prove to our owner that we deserve to be here longer. So hopefully we can put together a good little run throughout the rest of this season. Not a playoff run, but just playing 500 baseball I think would be pretty good. And that way we go into next year with a little momentum. I did look at the upcoming free agents, and I was hoping to maybe be able to sign like some type of really good batter, and that doesn't really exist because we're not going to sign Yasmani Grandal. Max Muncy is somewhat intriguing, but he's already 32 years old, and he's expecting $30 million for his next contract, which I'm not going to give that much money to a 32-year-old. Miguel Andujar is another kind of interesting case if he does, in fact, hit the free agent market and the Yankees don't re-sign him, but I just don't know quite where I would put him. Maybe first base, I guess would be interesting, but we already have Contreras. You can see how Andujar is doing this year. He's not doing very well. A 710 OPS in 83 or in 88 games and 83 OPS plus, the same mark for his WRC plus. He's actually been a negative value player. So if he hits the free agent market, maybe that's something that we explore on a short-term contract, if that's something that he would be interested in. But the rest of the batters in here are not too appealing. And then if we go to pitchers, just to see, it's a lot of relievers. The best starting pitcher seems to be Zach Davies, who granted is a guy that I looked at with the Padres, like I said, it was a couple years ago. And this is definitely not the type of guy that I think I would want to sign to a contract. Verlander will be there, but you can see that he is 40. So that's another guy that we're probably not going to take a look at. So the free agent market this year is not super great. Maybe it'll change. I don't know. But regardless, we will move on ahead. You can take a look at the schedule for basically the rest of the season. I might check back in September before the final month of the season. But we have 3 games coming up against Seattle. Then we have a 3-game set against the Yankees, 3 against the Rays, 3 against the Yankees. We have a 2-game interleague set versus Miami, 3 games against Cleveland, 3 games at Baltimore, 3 games versus Houston, a 4-game set against the Yankees, 2 games at Toronto, and then we start off September with a 4-game set against Houston. And then we have a couple more interleague matchups throughout the rest of the season. We play at Cincinnati. We play at Miami. We have a 3-game set against Pittsburgh sandwiched in here. Then we go all the way to October 1st. So I might go until maybe after this Blue Jay series just to check in, see how the team's doing, and I will be back. All right, it is August 31st. We're about to start up this series against the Astros. Your Red Sox 62-70, so we've actually been playing pretty well considering the circumstances. You can see now we're only 8 games out of the wild card. Not that it matters. We were actually making a pretty interesting run. I think we were like 6 games out at one point in the middle of August, but we kind of fell apart. We had a couple suspensions and just kind of ruined everything. But if you take a look at this, we're 14-11 right now. So regardless, we're going to have 2 straight months with 14 wins. So it's really just how badly we started. If we didn't start this bad and if we didn't go under 500 April, May, and June, we might have a different story for the season, but unfortunately that's what happened. But we have been playing better recently. I do think that the trades are part of that. The pitchers seem to be doing better. The offense isn't super great, but that's kind of the trade-off of going for defense. My middle infield positions, they have not been doing good offensively, Rojas and Iglesias, but I do think that it is helping the pitching staff a little bit. You can see now that we are 6th in pitching WAR, 6th in FIP, so I do think that it's helping a little bit. Take a look at the schedule. We've actually done pretty well. So you can see I last left off here at the 27th, so we took 2 out of 3 from Seattle. We swept the Yankees, took 2 out of 3 from the first place Tampa Bay Rays, took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. We swept, I put that in quotation marks, the Marlins. Took 2 out of 3 from Cleveland, but then we got swept by the Orioles, and that's kind of started this downturn that we've seen. This is kind of when all the suspensions started to happen. So we got swept by the Orioles. We lost 2 or 3 to the Astros. We split with the Yankees, and we just split with the Blue Jays. So you can see that throughout the end of July through the first couple weeks of August, the first, I guess you could say, 2.5 weeks of August, we were doing very, very well. And then unfortunately just kind of started to unravel a little bit. But after this win against Cleveland, we were I think like 6 games out of a wild card spot. So I was kind of thinking that maybe we could make an improbable run, but that's not going to happen at this point. But still, as I said, if we could just play 500 baseball, give or take, I would be pretty happy, and it seems like we are going to be able to do that. 62-70. So I think that the moves that I did make at the deadline, while they didn't make us a playoff contender, I think they did make this team better than it otherwise would have been. So I went through the schedule already for September, so I will go ahead and simulate, and hopefully we finish close to 500. That would be nice. All right, it is the end of the season. You can see that we finished 75-87, so ultimately it was not 500, but given the circumstances, our owner is now satisfied instead of undecided. So I think that given the circumstances, we did not do all too bad. You see that we went 11-17 in September, basically 12-17 with this one game in October. We were just really up and down. So we started the month losing 3 out of 4 to the Astros. We lost 2 out of 3 to the Reds. Then we swept the Blue Jays, or we took 3 out of 4 from the Blue Jays, excuse me. We lost 2 of 3 to the Rays. We lost 2 of 3 to the Pirates. We split with the Marlins. We lost 3 of 4 to the Rangers. We split with the Orioles in a 4-game series, and then we took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees to end the season. So not a bad way to end the season, taking 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. You can see ultimately we finished 8th in runs scored and 10th in runs against. So the offense kind of tailed off as the season went on when I started kind of caring about defense a little more, but that was to be expected. I kind of wanted to help our pitchers, and I think for the most part I did. Jacob Nix kind of had a rough end of the year, but ultimately with the 3.80 FIP, I do think that I'm comfortable with him in the rotation long term. Slater O'Brien in his rookie year, you can see he tossed 100 innings at the major league level, a 3.40 ERA and a 3.91 FIP. I think there's definitely a lot to build on there for the seasons to come. He is 25 years old. Baez kind of calmed down a little bit as the season went on. You can see that he did pretty well, a 3.68 ERA and a 3.86 FIP. Mata, once again, just very up and down this year. He ultimately finished with a 5.93 ERA and a 5.73 FIP. You take a look at the splits. August was actually his best month of the season after we got that defensive help. He put up a 3.61 FIP, and then in September he just didn't do very well. So I don't know. Mata does not seem to... I don't know if he's going to be a long-term piece in my rotation. I mean, he still has value, so I don't know maybe if it would make sense to try to trade him for a better pitcher. We do have a lot of pitching depth at the minor league level, so maybe it makes sense to trade a couple of those arms for like a legit established starting pitcher. That might be helpful. Hunter Brown we called up just to give him a chance at the major league level. You can see that he was not very good. A 4.95 ERA, a 5.63 FIP. This was the guy that we got in the trade with the Mariners last year. If we go to his splits, you can see at home, once again, it's not what I would have expected, but at home he did very well. It was just when he was on the road, he did not do well at all. So, this is all levels actually. Let me just get major league. You see at home, I mean, even at the major league level at home, he was still pretty good for a rookie, but on the road, he was just god awful. So that's, I don't know. I don't really know how to interpret those statistics. I don't know if that's just an anomaly, but you can see that some of our bullpen pieces did all right. Peguero kind of got worse as the season went on, but through a full season, it seems like he did all right. We put him in that stopper role at the end. Yap in his first year in the majors put up a 4.28 ERA, but the FIP was very encouraging, so I think he'll be fine next year. Same thing with Peguero. I think he'll be fine next year. The FIP was a little high, but this is his first year in the major leagues, so I think that next year with the experience under his belt, he's only 26, so I think that he will be A-okay. Brock, we only brought in on a 1-year contract. We will not be re-signing him. Joe Kelly retired, and he was at the AAA level on a rehab assignment when he did that. Fletcher, when we moved him out of that stopper role, seemed to do pretty well, or the setup role. He got better as the season went on. The ERA is not great. The FIP, though, maybe a little encouraging. I'm not sure. Alvarado was a little up and down all year. He finished with a 3.83 ERA and a 4.58 FIP. We called up Zach Ryan just as middle relief help, and it seems like he did pretty well at the major league level and at the minor league level. So he's maybe a guy that we kind of look to keep next year. I'm not too sure. Bizzardo, he did not do very well all season long. You can see his FIP was 4.82, so I don't think he'll be in the rotation or the bullpen next season. Move Bukauskas to a long relief role. It seems like he did a little better on that role as opposed to being a starter. Then we also had Politi up here. He's a guy that we might have as our long relief guy next season. I'm not too sure. Went to Seton Hall. That's cool. I never noticed that, but that was the pitching staff for the most part. Take a look at the lineups. Mookie Betts actually made a run at Triple Crown. At least he would have if we go to statistics. If Yordan Alvarez didn't hit 73 home runs and 151 RBI, you can see the Devers had 50, which is definitely respectable, but Alvarez had 73. Gallo had 60. Never did that. Okay, so number one, I guess he went back to Texas. Number two, he hit 60 home runs, which if I had known he was going to do that, I would have kept him, but what are you going to do? But yeah, Yordan Alvarez had a heck of a year, 306 average, 73 home runs at 151 RBI. Christian Arroyo ended up winning the batting title, 320 average. But you see Devers was top 5 in batting average, top 4 in home runs, and he was second in RBI, so he had a very good year. He's not going to win MVP, obviously. That's probably going to go to Yordan, but still a very good year for Yordan Alvarez, but also for for Devers. If we take a look at the lineup in OPS, you can see he finished with an OPS of 963. He was basically a 7-win player. Kirilloff had the best season of his career. He was close to a 6-win player. He had 899 OPS. He had 30 home runs, 84 RBI. He scored 120 runs, which is to be expected. He did hit from the leadoff spot for most of the season. Mookie Betts, in his return to Boston, put up an 866 OPS. Now, the big question, he does have this opt-out after 2023, so we have to wait and see if he'll stay in Boston or if he hits the free agent market. That'll be the big question for the offseason. Hopefully he does stay because it seems like he can be a pretty good offensive contributor for the next 2 seasons. You can see Seth Beer had a pretty solid go-around. If it wasn't for injuries, I think he would have had more home runs, but at the end of the day, he finished with 18, and he put up an 810 OPS. Jordan Adams was a 1.6 win player. He put up a 749 OPS and 412 plate appearances. Caratini did not do as well as he did at the start of the year, but still a 729 OPS out of the catcher spot and 1.3 win player. Can't be too upset with that. You can see Connor Wong was a 1.4 win player, so we got 2.7 wins out of our catching duo, which I can't be too upset about. The on-base percentage for Wong was not very good, but he did put up a 704 OPS, so him and Caratini did form a nice duo, which is encouraging. Flores, when he got traded in his time with Boston, he did not do as well as he did with Cleveland, a 636 OPS. He was a negative win player, so that move really did not work out as well as I thought it would. Take a look at the zone rating. He put up a positive zone rating, 0.1, so I guess you could say maybe, I don't know. It seems like even if we had Buddy Kennedy in there, not much would have changed. Jose Iglesias, even Miguel Rojas had pretty bad OPSs in the mid-600s. You can see Iglesias in his time with us, though. He was a positive win player, 0.5 WAR. And if you go to the fielding stats, you can see he put up a plus 3.2 zone rating. So I'm sure that helped our pitchers, having a guy like that at shortstop. And we can go to Rojas. He was a positive win player here, too. If we go to fielding stats, plus 0.1 zone rating. So maybe expected a little more, but it's not like he committed a ton of errors. Only 2 errors in his 56 games started at second base, so I can't be too upset about that. I really do think that it helped some of our pitchers, maybe some more than others, but ultimately I am glad that I made those moves. I think if we didn't make those moves, the team would have been a lot worse this year. But that is that. If we go to minor league system rankings, we are 4th in the league. We were 14th before we made that trade with Cleveland, and then we shot up to 4th. So you can see the Contreras is the 7th prospect in baseball. Alan Castro is number 34 right now. You can see that as a rookie in the Dominican, he was in the Dominican League. He put up a 949 OPS. He was a 3.4 win player, which is encouraging. So I'm sure he will be up probably maybe at a full season next year. I'm not sure. Maybe mid-A. Cavalli is still number 40. That guy we got from Cleveland, too. Martinez is number 60. Maeda is 67th. And then if we go to Prospect Pipeline and go all the way down here, so we had Maeda, who's 67. Slater O'Brien was 72. We talked about him. Jerry Pullen, that relief pitcher prospect, is 75. Jordan Adams is 84. And I think, that's it. So we have a lot of representation in the top 100 prospects in baseball. We don't have any... we don't really have a ton of top, I'd say, 20 prospects, but we do have we do have one in the top 20, and he's at number 7, which is encouraging. If he can become a 60 grade contact, 65 grade power, 55 grade high batter, that would be a welcome addition to this lineup. So that is that. I think that's all I have to talk about. You can see the team chemistry for the entire season was very, very good. We ended ecstatic, which is encouraging. We ended with 1 captain and 2 leaders. We didn't have any spark plugs or pranksters at the end of the year. I don't really know if that made any difference, but you can see Braden Shoemake runs the clubhouse. He's a true captain for the guys on the team, and certainly showing how great the clubhouse is running. So even though we finished 75 and 87, the chemistry was good all season long, which is encouraging. I do want to see, so this year we went 75 and 87. Last year we went 68 and 94. So we did make, a 7-win jump from 2022 to 2023. Which isn't too bad. Our expected win-loss was 78 and 84, so maybe we got a little unlucky throughout the year. But still, I think there's reasons to be encouraged. I think that when we look at this team going forward, there's some players to be excited about. I think maybe, as I said, we should try to get an established starting pitcher for next season. That might help. Another bullpen piece might help. Maybe somebody offensively might help. We can take a look at the upcoming free agents again. I don't know if it would have changed. I don't really see any difference, but we'll take a look at the free agent pool in the next episode. We will do the 2023 offseason and set our team up for 2024. So thank you for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.